and that was his first language. And all people have baby signs, baby sign language. And my father's sign for the bathroom was a seat with a hole in it. And so this is actually the sign for the bathroom. And he was at a friend's house as a little boy, and he remembers going to the lady of the house and going, and she was like, she kept taking him to a chair. And he finally, his mom came in and said, no, he means this. So, anyway, all of that being said, as we begin, I ask you to take a seat, and I ask you to pray with me as we get ready to begin our presentation. Lord, we thank you for this moment together as the community of St. Matthew. We give you thanks that there are people here who have not been here for a long while. We give you thanks that there are new faces here. And we ask, Lord, that you would be with us and bless us as we move forward trying to seek your will for us in the world. In your holy name, amen. Amen. And thank you to Nathan Zaspool, who has come to speak to us about deaf ministries in the ELCA, and he is an amazing speaker. If you have a question for him, carefully remove your mask so that he can see your lips as well. You don't have to or shout. He can hear you, and all of that will be fine. But he does need the lip reading if you have a question following the presentation. So very carefully, you can take your mask off. The food is going to be coming out so you can eat as he's here. Just do so with respect and awareness that he's presenting. You're up.
Oh, I want to say thank you for having me here today. I am very, very good friends with Pastor Lisa. I met her last fall at my sign language class. I was teaching a sign language class, and thank you. Well, I was teaching a sign language class last fall, and Pastor Lisa was in my class last fall, and that's how I met her, and me and her have been wonderful friends. And also want to say thank you for having me here today, and I'm very blessed to have this wonderful friendship that we've had together since last fall. And I'm glad that we're still staying in touch. And I try not to give you a hard time when the Ravens lose or the Packers lose.
Packers are really.
So, to start about this presentation, well, I'm going to talk about my deaf story, how I grew up deaf, and how it impacted me with my life. And then we'll talk, and then we'll change the subject to my faith in church, growing up deaf in church, and so on. And then I will open the floor for questions that you may have for me. And then after questions, I'm going to teach you a few little basic sign language. So over the last 5 years, I've done lots of presentations. So I do lots of presentations talking about my deafness, growing up deaf, and how I've had to prove a lot of people wrong, and lots of people have told me many things that I cannot do because I'm deaf. So you will hear my story as we move along. And I also teach sign language classes annually at my church in Schaumburg, Illinois, at Princeton Beach. And I also have a YouTube channel with my name, the channel name. So if you ever want to watch my YouTube channel, feel free. It's all my videos of sign language clips and my presentation clips. And I'm also recording myself right now, so this will go on YouTube later today. So before I start this presentation with you guys, I want to ask all of you, have you ever had doubters in your life? Have you ever had people tell you things that you cannot do because of who you are? Have you ever had the motivation to prove people wrong? To answer these questions for myself, I've had all these happen to me in my life. Many people have told me that I'm deaf and that I can't do any of these things. I was just so motivated to prove people wrong in many different ways. I've been living my life the hard way. The hard way started with the NIU football team, trademark slogan on the back of the helmet. And the slogan is all over NIU football stadium, all over the campus. You could even see it on the back of their head. You could even see it on TV when you watch NIU football. Now, the hard way definition is defined in many different ways. One is not giving up, believing in each other, and believing in myself, proving many people wrong, rising to exposure, becoming well known, and overcoming many different obstacles. This trademark has become a very good meaning for myself. I'm very, very related to this definition because that's how I lived myself. I lived my life the hard way. I overcame so many obstacles and I proved so many people wrong without giving up. In February 1982, I was born with an auditory nerve loss. My hearing loss was not discovered until 18 months old, and my mom could tell that I was not hearing anything, something was going on with me. So she got kitchen pans and stood behind me, banging the pan loud behind me. I was not responding to sound. I was not reacting to anything. I was just playing along. So my mom took me to the audiologist, and the hearing test verified that I was deaf. So I started to wear hearing aids 18 months old. And wearing hearing aids for the first time was not a resolution for my hearing problems. I had a long way to go. I had to start living my life the hard way. When I first wore hearing aids for the first time, I did not know how to respond to sounds. It took a few years for the sound to come through. For example, sounds are coming through one ear and sounds are going the other ear. I was not recepting the sound. At the same time, I need to learn English, sign language, and be able to know how to react to sound. Preschool, at 3.5 years old, there was a preschool teacher that had told me Nathan would never speak in his life. From that, I started speaking 3.5 years old. So that was quite a relief. But during that time, up to junior high, I began taking speech therapy. And I took speech therapy for like 2 to 3 days a week, for maybe 1 hour, half hour each time. through speech therapy, speech therapy was very, very hard. I had a lot of ups and downs. Like, the hardest thing was be able to pronounce S and F or TH or SH at the beginning or end of the word. While I was developing language, sign language, and speech therapy, I was in preschool and elementary school and a lot of other deaf kids. They were going through the same situation with me, growing up deaf, learning how to speak, learning how to hear, learning how to cut out, things like that, learning language, learning everything. And in these classes, I had teachers speak sign language and teachers sign to us, they teach us. And these deaf classes were very, very slow learning process. In junior high, I began mentoring in classes with hearing people with a sign language interpreter there. I had gym classes, art classes, and lecture classes with an interpreter there. I continued to take deaf classes with the teacher that signed in the class, took classes like math, history, science, and so on. The deaf classes was still slow learning process, and I was still behind on language and vocabulary, very slow. During junior high, there was a teacher that introduced me to a hearing teacher and introduced me as deaf. To me, I did not like to be called deaf. I like to be called and labeled myself as hard of hearing because really, I label myself as hard of hearing because I function more like hard of hearing because I have the ability to speak. I have the ability to hear some with the hearing aids. The word deaf is more often defined as mute and no ability to speak, no ability to hear. So it's a very good mix up. So I told the teacher to stop calling me deaf. Please label me hard of hearing. She did not want to label me hard of hearing because she wanted to follow the audiogram. My audiogram says that I'm deaf. But really, I function more hard of hearing myself. Well, I told her, please call me hard of hearing. She did not like it. She wanted to call me hearing impaired. Whatever. I said, okay, whatever. So for 2 years of high school, I started to continue to take deaf classes. And then mainstream a little bit. Same setup as junior high, where I mainstream a little bit. But now I was looking at the long term. I wanted to start going to college. I needed to prepare myself for college. And I had to start mainstreaming in the junior and senior year, mainstream completely out. And it was a very good challenge for me because I was still behind on language, still behind on vocabulary, and that was a very difficult challenge for me to overcome. But I'm very, very, very thankful and glad that I had teachers help me after school with things that I need help with. I was very thankful to graduate high school with a high school diploma doing the hard way. This is my high school diploma right here. A very interesting part in my senior year that before I graduated high school, the head teacher, two teachers told me, there's no way you're going to graduate college. There's no way you're going to be able to be successful in college. That's because I have the low language vocabulary, low skills, low knowledge, everything. It became so personal to me for the teachers to say, no way you're going to graduate. It's not fair to me because teachers had no faith in me. I was very bothered by it. Their comments became so personal to me, and it was also a way to motivate me to do them wrong. I wanted to prove them wrong. I began a goal for myself. I had two goals. One goal was to graduate college. My second goal was to prove these teachers wrong. I wanted to prove them wrong. It motivated me. I had the fire in myself to prove these people wrong. I believed in myself. I believed that I could do this. I believed that I could graduate college. I was on a mission doing this the hard way. I went to Rock Valley College in Rockford, Illinois. That was a community college. It took me longer to finish college because I was taking developmental below 101 level classes. I took a lot of tutoring classes, so that helped me. All of my classes had a sign language interpreter and note takers through every class. I was very active at the college working for the newspapers. I was a sports writer, sport editor, managing editor, and editor-in-chief. Many people on the campus said there would be no way the college would be successful in the newspaper because a deaf guy was running the newspaper. The newspaper became very successful because I had a strong supporting staff. The strong staff supported me, and our newspaper became very successful. We got first place in overall excellence and layout in the state of Illinois during my time as editor-in-chief. It was a great feeling to prove these people wrong by doing this the hard way. It took me 4 hard working years to finally be able to graduate with a college degree, an associate in arts degree. I knew that I could graduate college, but I felt like I needed to prove these high school teachers wrong by doing more. I wanted to continue doing this the hard way. I wanted to make my life dream come true by going to NIU. Going to NIU was the best experience in my life. Now that I only became an NIU football season ticket holder, I love NIU with all my heart. NIU is in my blood. The university means so much to me. Everyone at NIU was so good to me. They helped me by meeting all my needs of an interpreter, note taker, and whatever things I needed to do to be successful. I became a vice president of deaf pride and organization through the campus, promoting deaf awareness and deaf culture through the NIU campus. I also served on the disability advisory board to improve accessibility needs at NIU. I graduated NIU after 2.5 years. College diploma right here.
Yay!
I earned a BA of art in art degree in art. It was an icing on the cake to have 2 college degrees under my name, and I succeeded my goal of proving these teachers wrong. 2 college degrees. This is the reason why I relate myself to the hard way slogan. I never gave up. I believed myself. I kept going. While I served myself with pride, having 2 college degrees, I continued to carry myself into the working world by doing it the hard way. During 10 summer years in high school and college, I worked at Magic Water Park in Rockford. I was doing groundskeeping and maintenance. At that time, a supervisor told me, I worked so hard on the job and that I deserve to be promoted. And I will never be promoted because I cannot function with the radio walkie-talkie. Being told like that was not right to me. I spoke with higher up supervisors about the comment that I believe in myself, that I deserve to be promoted no matter if I had a hearing loss or not. They were so fierce to have this happen to me. They made corrections for me and made accommodations for me to finally become a supervisor without having a radio walkie-talkie on the job. The last 4 or 5 years on the job went smooth and worked out so well for me. After being laid off at a factory job in Rockford, I had so many different job interviews across the Chicagoland area, and I was turned down at a lot of different positions that I applied for. A lot of warehouse jobs did not want to hire me because of safety reasons. Because safety reasons involve lots of forklifts moving around, and I totally get it. I totally get the safety perspective. I want to be safe. I want them to be safe. I totally get it. But at the same time, I felt like it was not fair to me to be given a chance and an opportunity to have a job. Oh, really? I had no job for 1.5 years. A family friend of mine got me to work at a department as a temp employee for about 11 years ago. And then I moved on to a different department for the long-term permanent placement. I worked my way into becoming a telematic products supervisor at PSI. PSI is an industrial engine company where they make engines for forklifts, generators, anything. So anything like from a 2-liter engine to a 53-liter engine. And this company right now is in Wooddale, Itasca, and Hanover. So my office is based out in Itasca. And now I've been with the company for 11 years. Excuse me. The company has been so good to me and has made so many accommodations for me. I work in an office with a door closed and locked. They made a doorbell for me, and because I cannot hear the knock. I heavily use face-to-face communication, email, text messaging, to be able to communicate with my coworkers and customers. As I have been working from home during this pandemic, I am very, very thankful for Microsoft Teams to be able to give me closed captions during meetings online. I strongly feel that I have taught my team a lot about my deafness and needed accommodations. I'm very, very thankful, grateful, and blessed for the business relationship that I have with my team and the company. So, you guys have to hear a really, really funny story that happened to me 12, 13 years ago. My best friend is deaf and cannot speak, and he went with me to McDonald's. We stood in line, and we were just finding to each other, talking to each other, and as we got in the front, the lady at McDonald's gave us a Braille menu, a menu for blind people. Come on! Oh, my best friend was saying, pointing at me, said, Nathan, he can see, he's got glasses, he can see. But everyone in line behind us, we're just laughing so hard. I think it's funny now. It's just, so when we sat down and talked, we were like, what just happened over there? So my best friend just texted his other deaf friend and told him what happened. Ah, no big deal. It's happened to them too before. It's like, what? So the reason why I'm bringing up this story is because there's so many, many places out there that need to be trained on how to help and interact with people with deafness, handicap needs, special needs. They need to train. They need to be trained. But I was very, very thankful that when I worked at the water park, they did a mandatory training with everybody working there saying, okay, so if you ever get in a situation, how can you fight with a deaf person? How can you help with a handicapped person? But we did lots of different training. I was very, very thankful to be a part of that training. I wish we had that kind of training everywhere. I married my wife, Carrie, 12 years ago. She is not deaf. She has no hearing loss. I'm the only one that's deaf in the family. many people have asked me, what's it like to be married to a hearing person? I have many times where we have gotten into misunderstanding or miscommunication. But Terry and I, we work together often, and we talk about things for us, both of us, to be on the same page. My daughter Noah, she's 8 years old, and she's in 3rd grade. When she was born, the big question was, will Noah have a hearing loss or not? Will Noah be deaf or not? I was hoping and praying that Noah did not become deaf. I did not want my daughter to be deaf because I did not want her to go through the same things that I was growing up with my hearing loss, with the speech therapy, going through everything that I went through. I did not want Nora to go through that. When Nora was born, she took the hearing test. I kept my fingers crossed. But then they said that she's hearing, she's not deaf. And I was just like so relieved. And I got so emotional about it, and I actually had tears rolling out of my eyes. People were asking me, why did you get so emotional about it? And I said, that you have no idea what it's like to be deaf. And of course, you don't want your daughter to be deaf, because you don't want her to go through what I had to go through. I cannot believe right now on how well technology's been with hearing aids. 39 years ago, hearing aids were not that great comparing to what it is today. People have always asked me, how well do you hear with your hearing aids? What's about the hearing aids on? I hear about maybe 85% of the sound. I hear pretty well with the hearing aids. But with the hearing aids off, I hear absolutely nothing. I cannot even hear my voice. I cannot even hear how loud or how quiet I speak with the hearing aids on. So I feel like there are two different sides of me. One side that I'm deaf and that I cannot hear, and then the other side of me where I am hard of hearing and that I can hear myself. Well, I first wore my hearing aid for 16 years, same hearing aid for 16 years. And then when I went to college, I began wearing digital hearing aids, and oh, wow, this is an improved hearing aid, technology improved. I heard lots of sounds that I had never heard of before. I heard the water running for the first time. I heard birds chirping. I heard crickets chirping. I heard air blowing out of the fence. I heard the fan blowing. Wow, it was this amazing experience. And you know, these noises are not a big deal to a lot of you guys, but it was a big deal to me. Wow. And then about 5-6 years ago, I got another round of improved hearing aids. Oh wow, these hearing aids have really helped me with foreign accent. Foreign accent. I work with a lot of people with foreign accent, where I was able to comprehend their accent better. I was understanding them better. Wow, I work with a lot of people that have Spanish and Polish accents. With me hearing about 85% of the time, I still rely on face-to-face communication. And that's how I grew up. And it will always be like this with me for the remainder of my life. If someone looked this way, I would not be able to understand. So like, for example, if I was hearing the radio, I would hear a lot of mumbling. Well, that's what it would sound like when I'm listening to the radio. It's the same way of talking on the telephone. If I put the phone on speakerphone, it would be the same idea. Technology has been so great to me now that I can rely on communicating with people by text messaging, email, Facebook, FaceTime. So now let's switch over to faith and religion. Religion has been a huge part of my life now. When I was growing up as a kid, I hated going to church. I did not have the resources. I had no interpreter. I just sat in the worship services, not be able to understand anything. I hated church overall. I went to Sunday school. I hated Sunday school. I did not like it because I did not have an interpreter. I did not understand anything. I just sat there with no fun for me at all. I stopped going to church after high school. I have gone through a few Christian non-denominational churches during my college years, and I really, really enjoyed it. But then again, I stopped going to church because I was commuting back and forth on the weekends as I was in a long-term, long-distance relationship with my girlfriend, who is now my wife. My wife was living in Schaumburg while I was living in Rochester, so I was with her every single weekend. So I wanted to spend as much time as I wanted to with my wife, where I didn't go to church. And back that time, church was not important to me because I didn't have the resources I had. Harry and I, we got married at a Lutheran church in Arlington Heights, Lutheran Church of the Cross. We had a sign language interpreter at my wedding. Oh, that was awesome to have it. During the first few years of our marriage, we had an argument where Terry said, we need to go to church more often. Me, I said, no way, I don't want to go to church. I told her that I hated going to church because I just sit there and not understand anything. And there's been a pastor that maybe would throw out a joke in worship service. Everybody's laughing, but me, I'm not laughing. That's because I had no idea what the joke was about or what was so funny. There were a few Sundays where I had been just so grumpy, I was so crabby, I just took it out on Terry. Because I was just so depressed just sitting in church and not be able to understand anything. I had no idea what was going on. When my daughter Nora was baptized, we have a really good family friend of mine that set up a sign language interpreter to come for Nora's baptism. And this was awesome because I asked that interpreter if she'd be willing to come back and interpret for me. And that was a beginning of a brand new deaf ministry. She comes back once a month and started interpreting, and we have seeds growing at the church where, because that ministry was a self-funded ministry where I collected lots of money through fundraisers and things, and lots of people were donating money. And all that money that we raised were to have a Sunday with the churches. I'm sorry. And we had enough money to begin an interpreter for 2 Sundays a month. And I kept raising money, and the money just kept on increasing. That was just amazing experience to be able to continue to have an interpreter come to church 2 Sundays a month. Back in 2017, my family and I, we transferred to Prince of Peace Lutheran Church in Chambers. I had a strong vision of having that ministry there. I went to Pastor Peter, who is now retired, but he was a pastor back that time. And believe it or not, when I went to Peter, I said to Peter, I wanted to have a Dutch ministry there. I wanted an interpreter there. And Peter told me that he had lots of experience with Dutch ministry at previous churches that he used to work at. And that was just awesome. I never knew that. So Peter was all about it. He wanted to start a Dutch ministry. We started. And we had that same interpreter follow me at my previous church, saying, okay, I will interpret for you 2 Sundays a month at Prince of Peace. And this was a wonderful experience with this church. This congregation has been so wonderful and supportive. And I helped the congregation learn more about death, and I just promoting death awareness. And I also have been starting up sign language classes throughout the community. I had community members come and just take the classes for free, just to learn about sign language and learn about death awareness, death culture. And that's also how I met Pastor Lisa, as she was taking my class last fall. And I'm making this more of an annual thing, where I do a level 1 class in the fall, and now I'm starting a level 2 class for these people to come back in the spring, which I'm very excited about. Now, I love going to church. That ministry has grown into something very, very special for me, because I am just so thankful to have resources I have today. I didn't have these resources back then, but now I have them today. I'm just so excited to have them. I love going to church on Sundays. I'm always excited about going to church. I love it at Prince of Peace. I think we have a wonderful congregation there, and I think we have a wonderful new pastor there who's very, very supportive of the ministry and very supportive of many different other ministries throughout the church. And I'm just very thankful to have a partnership in ministry with her. I'm very, very excited now that we're going to have an expansion in our Dutch ministry starting in January. We're now going to have an interpreter every Sunday. I'm just very excited about that. Now, my dream is to continue to try to find more deaf to come to Prince of Peace. I want more deaf people to come. And that's very, very hard to find, but I'm just going to keep going. As you know now, I'm the co-chair of the Lutheran Deaf Ministry through the MDF, the Chicago City. And I've been doing it for a year now. My role is to promote self-awareness throughout the city and create partnership in ministry with everybody, and to get the word out there about we have a deaf ministry. We'd like to help you guys understand us better, and for you guys to it's more of a partnership to help each other out. Interesting fact right now is that deaf ministry countrywide are shrinking. So now in the entire country, we have 19 churches throughout the country, 19 of them that are interpreted throughout the country. Only six deaf churches in the country where they have a pastor that's blind. That number is shrinking, unfortunately. But I am very thankful today that we have two interpreted deaf ministry churches here in the Chicago area. We have one at Prince of Peace in Schaumburg, and then the other one at Downers Grove, Gloria de Lutheran Church. And those are the only two LCA interpreted deaf churches in the Chicago area. In conclusion, I have grown up deaf doing the hard way. My life will continue ahead with future challenges and obstacles. I am on a mission to provide deaf awareness and educate people out there with my personal deaf story that I just shared with you today. My mission is to show that deaf people can do anything but cannot hear, and that deaf people do it the hard way. My deafness keeps my life going because I continue to prove people wrong. I continue to overcome challenges, and I continue not to give up. I will not allow anyone to tell me no because I'm deaf or because I have a disability. I'm going to find ways to work around the no by compromising. I'm a strong believer in myself. I believe that God keeps me going. That's how I will continue to do the hard way for the rest of my life. Thank you.
Thank you.
So now, I would like to open this floor up for questions that you may have for me. I would love to answer any questions you have for me. Anybody have questions for me? I would like to.
Okay. When did they discover your deafness? Was it at birth?
I was born deaf.
Okay.
But my hearing loss was not discovered until 18 months old.
Okay.
And that's where I began wearing hearing aids right away.
Oh, okay. Now my nephew's wife was working at a job here in the Chicago area at hospitals where she would be testing infants for hearing. It's a new thing now, I guess. I never heard of it before. Like when an infant's born, they have these new things where they test their hearing to see.
Well, I know by law that when kids are born in the hospital, it's required for them to have a hearing test before they go home.
For 30 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh,
really.
Yeah.
So this how my daughter got a hearing test right away. It's not that I request for it. It's just we all had to do it. Like back my time, I didn't have a hearing test and it was not in law like that.
Oh, all right. Okay.
Well, I'm very, very thankful that things have changed now where kids must have a hearing test at birth.
You just had such a wonderful story to tell. And I used to teach in Wooddale, and there's a school for children who have cochlear implants in school in Wooddale called A Child's Voice. And I was wondering if you were even aware, because most people aren't aware that that school exists. But again, if you could speak to those children, because I think a lot of times they see themselves, it's a little bit different than a hearing aid, and they're integrated into our school district. I don't know, how they decide that, but to give them that motivation that they can do anything. So I know you talk for a church, but have you ever, considered, approaching a school for deaf children to kind of let them see, look what, I grew up, I was told this all along, now I'm successful.
I have staff, parents, in front of parents who find out about their kids being deaf. Because during that time, those parents didn't even know what to do, or,
Right.
okay, so what are my next steps? What do I do? How do I do that? These parents did not even know what to do. So with the panel discussions that I've been involved with, I have had help these parents understand that these kids are going to be just fine, and they just can't hear, but they just need help with the speech, hearing aids, whatever they can do to be successful. And then on the other hand, you're talking about cochlear implants. Oh, that was a very, very, I don't know how to say it, but it was a very, very controversial. A lot of deaf did not want other deaf in cochlear implants because it really, really changed your identity. Cochlear implant has a really good way of covering up your true identity. Like, for me, I'm really grateful that I did not have cochlear implant because I did not want it. Cochlear implant really, really did not work for everybody, and that's the problem that people don't know today, that cochlear implant may not work for them. Same idea with hearing aids. Hearing aids may not work for everybody. It's very, very controversial, but now the cochlear implant, they may do really well because the technology improves, but at the same time, I have a really restriction to it, and there's no way that I'm gonna get it to cochlear implant. Because like if you wanted to get a cochlear implant, and if you tried it and it did not work, I'm not going to be able to switch back to my hearing aids because they have done surgery and they have. So I'm glad with what I have to get. Next question?
I just had wanted to share, when I took Nathan's class in the fall, when he was teaching baby signs, it was, for me, also emotional, because my grandfather and grandmother were deaf. Now, my grandfather was born, and I'm not gonna do my sign right, 1895. Yeah, 1895. And my grandmother was born in 1898. So what I learned from them was very old. Very, very old. And but the evolution of deaf community has been amazing. To go to Nathan's class and to be allowed, and I mean this, and I'm trying not to get emotional now, but to be allowed to have an insight into the deaf community as a person who can hear is a gift. In my grandfather and grandmother's generation, there was a wall. Deaf here, hearing here. And partly because the hearing community was mean. Yeah. That sometimes you will still hear deaf and dumb. And dumb means what dumb means to everybody, stupid, yes? So to hear that, people were told, you know, if you are dumb, if you are deaf, you are dumb. And that, you know, hey, not dumb. My grandfather, not dumb. My grandmother, not dumb. And so, but they grew up with that. And both of their children were hearing, but that wall was there. And the break. My father was sent to school, to a hearing school, and not told why. And so he thought he had done something wrong. And there was that wall, because also men in 1890, whatever, did not talk to anybody. But that kind of wall, that kind of break, is what Nathan is doing such an amazing job to overcome. But you have to understand, in the hearing community, that the deaf community has heard over and over and over. So there is sort of a, you know, a willingness, hey, come on now. So when you talk sometimes about cochlear implants or things that are, well, you're not really deaf, you know, that kind of thing. You have people who will hear that as, you are still dumb. Yeah, so you have to understand that sometimes in the deaf community, there's some anger, because the hearing community has been mean. And I thank you so much. Again, I get emotional, but thank you so much for allowing us in.
And that is one thing that I'm trying to do now, is because right now with deaf, with me, I have a lot of deaf at Gloria Day in Downers Grove. A lot of these deaf are like hearing people, no. I don't want to relate with hearing people. I want to separate. Me, no. I want a partnership, collaboration with deaf and hearing together. We both, hearing and deaf, we share the same belief in God. We share the same belief in faith and religion. I want hearing and deaf to be together and have a partnership in ministry. And that's what I'm really trying hard with the deaf, is trying to get them to understand better. And I think for me, because right now I have that perspective of having a partnership, is because I'm the only one deaf in the family. I'm growing up with hearing people. I am in the middle between hearing world and deaf world. So I see perspectives on that side and other perspectives on that side. So now I'm trying to combine both perspectives into a joint collaboration. So that's what I'm trying to do. It may be hard, but it's been working wonderful for me, because many people want to learn sign language. People want to understand deaf culture better. People want to understand things better for the deaf. I also want the deaf to understand the hearing people better too. I want both sides to understand each other better and partner together. Questions, anybody else?
I was curious, have you seen recently, there were two really good movies on deaf culture. One was Coda, and the other one was Sounds of Metal.
I'm glad you brought that up. Both are really good, highly recommended movies for lots of people. Now, Coda, that's a good movie. It really relates to myself. I've had a lot of those experiences in Coda that they go through, that I go through now. It's just like, wow.
Yeah.
I've had people come up to me and say, hey, Dina, and I said, that's movie. And people do think about me when they see that movie.
Yeah, I thought
It's
about you.
amazing. It's an amazing movie. And if you guys haven't seen it, it's on Apple TV. Highly recommend it. So, now, let's do the fun part.
Good, that's not it.
I would like to teach you some signs, very basic signs. I would like to do the alphabet. So let's start with A, B, C, D, E, F, G. It could be G or G, either way. H, I, J, K. Like you put your thumb in the middle. Okay. L, M, N, O, P, Q,
Upside down, K. Do your piece.
Q.
Get your finger, K.
Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, D. Do you guys want to do this one more time?
Sure.
Alright. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, it should be G, or G, either way.
Yeah, this here.
So you're making, like a little duck.
Exactly.
H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O. P, think of the K, and you drop it down, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, D. All right.
It's hard.
I'll tell you the fun thing is that if you have a little one in your family and they don't know how to say potty yet, take the T and just shake it, because that just means toilet. So that way, if you have a really little one who is not verbal yet, they can go T.
And then, like, if you want to start a conversation with a deaf person, come up and say, how are you? So, like, how are you? So, like, I skip R, So, really, fine, how are you? How are you? Well, no, I skip the R. Lots of people skip the R. People say, how are you? So, like, how are you, or how are all of you?
Nathan, just so that you know, there is a difference between signed English and ASL. ASL is American Sign Language. American Sign Language is just itself a language. So how you is American Sign Language. How are you is signed English, which is a different language. So just letting you know, okay.
Like dialect.
So, in order to respond on how are you, you could say, I'm fine, or I'm good, or I'm bad.
So good is face up, bad is face down.
Okay, so it's the same motion.
Yes, so if you are good, yay, I'm carried. If you're bad, put them down.
Good and then bad.
Good? That's easy.
Smarty pants.
And then, if you have another way of saying, I am angry. I'm mad. Not that Facebook button. I'm angry. I'm mad. Or I'm happy. Or I'm lousy. I feel lousy. Yeah. Or I'm sick. I feel sick.
It's the middle finger, that's why you know you're sick.
I'm excited. I'm excited. You have that Facebook button? I'm excited. I'm lonely. Or you say I'm alone, lonely either. I'm frustrated. I'm frustrated. I'm scared. I'm afraid. Ah. I'm hungry. I'm thirsty. And probably all of you are afraid. So, like I said, I have to teach sign language classes annually every fall. So if you guys want to learn more than what you just learned, please email me. I'll put your name and email address on a waiting list, and I'll make sure you guys know when the new classes are out and ready to be registered, and they will be free.
Wow.
I really recommend,
Wow.
really recommend. They are very, very good, very good.
So I will be teaching again, teach in Schaumburg in the fall, more like September, October, 4 weeks, 1 day a week, 1 hour.
Wow.
So if you guys want to come, feel free to email me. I'll put you on the registration list. And like she said, it's highly recommended.
Second language, you bet.
And I really would love to be there. It's open for anybody, the community, the church, anybody.
Okay.
So thank you again for having me here today.
Thank you.
And Merry Christmas.
Oh,
wait,
do it again.
do that?
Merry Christmas. Christmas.
Yep, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. I like it. So you're doing your C for Christmas. Aces. Okay. Well, thank you, Nathan, for coming. The only caveat that I will add to all of this is that being in the Lutheran Church, I will say that the Missouri Synod churches are skunking us as far as deaf ministry.
Why?
I don't know why, but the Missouris have an amazing deaf ministry. So when Nathan has lifted up for us about what's happening in the ELCA, yeah, we need to think about that. Because where are our priorities? What are the things that we want to make sure? If we're making sure that the word is available for all people, then we want to make sure that sign is available for all people, or Braille is available, or amplified for hard of hearing. So, or to have things printed. Today I was able, and I did not know that Dean was coming, but I gave to Nathan a printed sermon. So if people laughed, he would know why that they were laughing. Remember too that when you meet someone who is deaf, you are not meeting an alien. You know, it's just a person who has who cannot hear or cannot speak in a way that you're used to hearing.
Back up in the we have so many people that have users, older members that have hearing aids.
Mm-hmm.
Other thing I started at Prince of Peace, I helped these people by developing a hearing loop, a T-coil hearing loop. It's copper wire on the underground to be in a loop in the worship center sanctuary where people sit inside the loop, and the sound goes right from her microphone the sound eliminates background noises. And the sound coming from her microphone are very, very crisp. So I helped with that ministry money with, the LCA gave us a $10,000 grant. I gave almost $2,000 of that ministry money to make this, work for everybody. And it's been very, very successful, I think, to see where now we have a lot of hearing aid users take advantage of the hearing books, and it helps them so well. Like one person said, first time in 30 years that I could actually hear something in church. That was an amazing feeling to have.
It is a gift to remember that when Jesus says he comes for all people, he comes for all people. And the only barrier to that all is often us. Putting up walls, putting up divisions, creating differences. Jesus says all comers. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks. You want food?